Happy Easter, everyone. My name is David from 52 Churches in 52 Weeks. Today, I'm in Winona, Minnesota at the Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. I was trying to figure out a place to go for Easter Sunday this year. Last year, I went to Mount Rushmore just due to a grandfathered 80-plus year tradition of holding Easter services right below Mount Rushmore, and that started right after World War II. This year, I didn't really know where to go, and I've always gone to Protestant or Evangelical type of Easter services, but I was really curious to see what an Easter service is like at a Catholic church. And I was taking a look for a couple different options this year, and I came across where I am right now, the Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. The reason I chose this one is I've always wanted to hear Bishop Robert Barron preach. So if you're not aware of Bishop Barron, he has a YouTube channel, a huge following on social media, and he's really engaged and talked very heavily and influenced his Catholic beliefs on such intellectual type of YouTubers like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Lex Friedman, and especially in today's day and age where we're living in a more postmodern, secular type of society, how does the Catholic tradition, how does one of the most gifted Catholic bishops in the United States with such a huge social media following, how does he intellectualize and show the goodness and the resurrection of Jesus Christ to a Catholic audience? So one of the tricky things with this is nothing is announced if he's actually preaching here today. I was doing research and saw that he's been doing a number of homilies for Holy Week this week with Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and also had a vigil service last night. So this is only about a 3-hour drive for me. I'm like, let's do this. And I just want to see how Catholics celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ on Easter morning. So I need to head in, so I'll be back in just a little bit. Got back a little while ago. It's raining right now, so if you hear some droplets in the background, maybe it will enhance your listening pleasure with a little relaxation. I don't know. But even after attending over a dozen different Catholic masses and services, the more I've attended, it's almost like the more mysterious it becomes to me, especially from my previous Protestant background. And I think a part of that is just, especially when I first started doing all these church visits, the first Catholic churches I attended, and I've mentioned this in the past, I found them very dull, very boring, very quiet. And a big part of that was just due to previous biases that I was coming in with. But the more services and the more masses that I've attended, the more that I've gained appreciation for, especially when it comes to recognizing all five senses and how that's incorporated in Mass. Because like when you walk in, you see, like your eyes just see, this beautiful symbolism all over the cathedral, the basilica, the church, whatever. But then you also hear this beautiful music, Latin Mass especially, I've found to really appreciate. And then on top of that, you like the incense just fills up your nose, and you also like touch is involved when you sit down on the kneelers, and then it finishes with the Eucharist with the taste of the body and the blood. And as a person coming in who's not a member, it's like I'm missing the final component whenever I attend Mass. Well, I've also gained much more understanding thanks to Catholic voices like Bishop Barron and also like Scott Hahn and Trent Horn. I don't listen to them as much as I do to other resources, but still with those voices, I wouldn't hear that anywhere else, especially coming from Rome. So from in the United States, to have that type of presence online, that helps a lot. One thing coming from my previous Protestant background, I was really curious with a Catholic Easter Mass, what do they do with the cross? Because Protestant and Evangelical churches, like the cross is empty. It's bare. It's supposed to symbolize Christ being risen and off the cross. And if you go to Catholic churches, you typically will always see Christ in his suffering on the cross with the crucifix. So what they did here is they had the crucifix up at the very front, but they had white linen cloths neatly draped over the cross. So that helped me, just a little bit of a nod to the empty tomb when Christ was risen. So you saw earlier in the video when I first got to the cathedral, I was very surprised, but not sure if Bishop Barron would preside over the service. And this is where Catholicism, again, is such a mystery to me, because Bishop Barron wasn't there. And it was so confusing to me because I had just watched him preside 12 hours earlier online at the same cathedral for their Easter Vigil Mass that Saturday night. And matter of fact, I looked on the diocese web Facebook and also the bishop's Facebook, and he had presided the entire Holy Week. And again, this is as coming from a different background. I'm still not sure on some of the significant roles of these days, because Monday he presided over something called Chrism Mass. Never heard of this before. So I looked online, and they brought in these big glass jars, and they had like this liquid inside of them. And like even after the service I attended, I walked by this side wall and I saw these glass jars inside. I was just so confused what that was. So I guess they're oils. So I saw some video of Bishop Barron kind of stirring it, and I'm guessing he's blessing oils, if I understand that correctly. If I'm butchering this, leave comments below, because when I do these visits, there is just so much that you can see and learn from all these church experiences. It becomes overwhelming to try and research all this, because the customs and traditions are just so different at so many of these different churches. So then Maundy Thursday, Bishop Barron was actually washing feet. And then on Good Friday, he was also there. And on his Facebook, I guess this is the day where they institute the Last Supper, the Eucharist, the priesthood, things like that. And then with Holy Saturday, the Easter Vigil Mass, everyone walked in to the darkness, bringing in a candle, bringing in a light, so that the light would outshine the darkness. And I didn't see this in any of the video or the live stream that I watched, but I guess that there's this blazing fire that they light up, and that way they put that fire on this Easter candle, if I got that correct. So seeing all that, I was just like, okay, what are they going to do next for Easter Sunday? So I look, and up front, there's tons of kids. There were so many kids at this church mass, and they sang their little hearts out. Several even sang solos throughout the mass, and just beautiful type of renditions that they all did. So the altar boys and the priest, they all walk in with this procession, and Bishop Barron, his seat, it's empty. And I'm just like, where is the bishop? He's been there all week. So a big part of me was kind of like, all right, well, Bishop Barron, like with his Facebook following of 3 million people, with his YouTube following of 1,000 or 1 million subscribers as well, like he's got a lot of obligations. He's overseeing this entire, I guess, 20 counties in Minnesota. He must be busy. He must be at a different church. But then there's another part of me that wonders, was that by design? Because one of the biggest turning point, I would say, in my understanding of the Catholic faith was Bishop Barron's interview with Shia LaBeouf, whoever the Transformers actor was that had the hots for Megan Fox. I can never say his name. But Shia LaBeouf, if I'm saying that right, he talks to Bishop Barron about, as an actor, he gained a lot of appreciation for Catholicism with really good Mass, and how it almost was like a play in itself. So he could see himself in that. And as a result, sounds like he actually did become Catholic and converted. So a part of me, with looking at that empty seat, it's like, is that part of the act where the Bishop Barron, he does all this work with blessing the oils and washing the feet, kind of like this representation of Christ. So then on Easter Sunday, his seat is empty because now we're moving forward. Now our sins are forgiven. Now we can become the light now that we are new. And I saw this kind of like renewal, just because so much of the Mass was with children singing. It was like this new day. Easter can mean all kinds of different things for people. Resurrection, renewal, restoration. If you look online with social media, there's many more gifted speakers, pastors, and teachers that just do such an amazing job to really just consolidate and express what Easter really represents. For me, like, if I could be completely vulnerable, Easter is really hard for me. And I know even with all these church videos that I do, in the past, it's like sometimes I dread Easter because I don't really fit. Because when I go to Easter, it's just so much focus on family. There's even at this church service, I was sitting kind of towards the front, and there's just husbands and fathers, mothers and wives, children, babies, grandfathers, grandmothers, all together. And it's like, I'm surrounded by all these families, and I'm just by myself, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids. And a big purpose and drive why I do this channel is because this gives me purpose. This gives me drive to kind of express my faith, because I got the free time. So, but at the same point, it's like I'm seeing all this, I don't fit the mold. This is no knock on this church, but I've seen this at multiple churches. And what often happens is when you do the greeting or the peace be with you, which we did during this service, when you have to greet your neighbor, everyone turns away from me because they don't really know what to make of me. So like, I turn to the people behind me, the family kind of turns to the family behind them. I turn to the family in front of me, they're turning towards the family in front of them. I turn towards the people to my side, they turn to the other family. So I'm just kind of by myself. I'm kind of invisible. And even then with the peace be with you, I got a head nod, but that was about it. And by that point, it's like, I'm not even going to turn back because I just feel so lost, So again, that's really difficult to say, But, you wonder why men are leaving the church. If you don't have a wife, you don't have kids, like, where do you fit? Like, if I'm dating someone, I'm going to church, we do these greetings, no problem. Everyone likes to say hi, have fun conversations, all good spirits. But, after the church service had concluded, again, everyone is super happy. Families are united. There's a celebration. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. And a part of me was a little bit down. One, because, I was hoping to see Bishop Barron in action. I didn't get to see that. But also, it's like, well, I'm just going to do my church thing, take a bunch of video, take a bunch of photos, and, make this video. Maybe this will help other people. And as I'm about to take off, I'm walking towards the back. I see this woman, and she's wearing this black leather jacket and this white manila veil. And she is in Gethsemane prayer stance is what I call it. And it's like, okay, this is the only other person that I've seen in this church by herself. And like, I can feel those emotions going on, because I could see like this mix of tears combined with loneliness and loss and fear and rejection and unworthiness and just wounding. And who knows what was going on there. And a big part of Easter to me that I always find fascinating is obviously the biggest miracle was Jesus Christ being risen from the dead. But I think there's another miracle in that was right afterwards, because Christ could have appeared to anybody. He could have appeared to, Caesar or this great king or this big crowd of people, even his disciples, to say, hey, I'm back, look at me. And he could have made a big hoorah about that and have this self-glorification almost. But he didn't. Instead, he sees Mary Magdalene at her lowest, rock bottom. And all Jesus Christ says to her is Mary. And all of a sudden, like, Mary Magdalene looks at his face and it brings peace and comfort and joy and worthiness and protection and, most importantly, healing. And, I don't know what was going through the mind of that woman who was kneeling down in that Gethsemane prayer stance. But, there's a big part of me that it reminds me for her to pray for her, but then also just because, this is what Christ does, He gives us that renewal through the resurrection. So we're given a new day and things get better. So, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.